Good morning, students. Welcome you all once again in the today's class on Ind AS 116. So, friends, in today's class, I'll show you one of the annual report where the presentation of right of use asset, lease liability is there, where I'll show you the depreciation and interest cost in the P&L and the accounting policy and the schedule of right of use asset and lease liability disclosures as well, right? Should I do that?
Yes, good morning. Yes.
Yeah, good morning, Saminathan, Sanjay, Bibhu. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. And
Good morning, sir.
one good news, students. So today is not the last class on Ind AS 116. We will complete Ind AS 116 in the next class, right? So we'll have one more class on Ind AS 116, and in the next class we'll do more questions. We'll solve more questions on Ind AS 116 along with sale and lease back. So, right? Because this Ind AS 116 is a very detailed standard, very detailed standard. So let me quickly summarize in the next 5 minutes what we have covered in the last 4 classes, and then I'll move to the annual report, and then I'll move to the new concept for today. For example, lessor accounting. Today I'll discuss lessor accounting. Accounting in the books of the lessor, right? Yeah. So friends, we started our journey on what? We discussed the objective of the standard, scope of the standard, and what we discussed what is meant by lease contract. And we also completed 4 leg of the lease contract. We understood what is meant by identified asset. You remember the meaning of identified asset as of now or not?
Yes, sir.
What is identified asset? What are the 2 conditions of identified asset?
There should be control and the substantial interest.
So identified asset are those assets which should be implicitly or explicitly mentioned in the contract, and lessor should now not have a substantive right to substitute. Means lessor should not have a practical ability to replace the asset, or lessor is not getting any benefit by replacing the asset. You remember I have taken one example of airport, the airline boarding counters at airport.
Yes, sir.
That
That shop
space is,
number.
yeah.
Yes.
That space is not an identified asset. Why? Because the airport authority has a right to replace. Today you will find Air India counter at gate number 4. Tomorrow you will find it gate number 5. So the point is the lessor has a practical ability to replace the asset. So this is known as a, if the lessor has a practical ability to replace the asset, you will not call that asset as an identified asset. If it is not an identified asset, then what accounting you will do? You will do the
Normal accounting.
normal accounting. What is normal accounting? Rent expense to bank. Okay. Or rent expense to lessor, lessor to bank. Then we discussed right to control the use of the asset. And what we discussed, what 2 conditions we discussed in right to control the use?
Right to direct and the substantial economic benefits.
Yes. Yes. So substantial economic benefit from using the asset. You remember we did one question from ICAI study material, and from the study material the question was on that P or Q, and one is getting a benefit on due to the ownership and one is getting the benefit due to the usage. So number 1, the right to obtain economic benefits, substantial economic benefits should be received from using the asset to the lessee. Number 1, right to direct the use of the asset should belong to the lessee. Right to direct the use means how to use, for what purpose it is going to be used. You remember one example I have taken for the car which Sanjay has taken from me for 3 days.
Yes.
Suna
Yes,
suna
sir.
lag raha hai? Suna
Yes,
suna
yes.
lag raha hai?
Remember.
We
Suna
already
suna
did.
lag raha hai? Yeah, that car example. Yes. Then we discussed the lease term, period of time, lease term. You remember that lease term, non-cancelable period plus rent-free period.
Rent-free period, optional
LCP,
termination,
OTP.
optional termination period, and
Optional renewal period
renewal period. Yes.
plus
If not
optional
exercised.
termination period.
If not
Optional,
exercised. If renewal
optional,
period is not exercised.
yes. So optional renewal period is going to be considered. Optional renewal period is going to be considered only when when there is a reasonable certainty to exercise the renewal option. Optional termination period is also required to be considered in the lease term when there is a reasonable certainty to not to exercise the termination option, right? तभी तो लोगे ना उसको lease term में.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So friends, we discussed that, and we also discussed the meaning of we also discussed the situation where the parties have a termination rights. For example, if lessor and lessee both have the termination rights, then whether the termination period will be covered in the lease period.
No, sir.
No, it will not be covered. For example, 6 year is the non-cancelable period plus 4 year is the termination period. Total contract is for 10 year, and lessor and lessee both have a termination rights. You have to ignore 4 years. Means for the lessee accounting, what is the lease term? Lease term is only 6 years. Yes, you have to do the right of use asset calculation, lease liability calculation. You have to do the discounting only for 6 years. You have to consider the rental for 6 years. But what happens if only lessor have the termination right, lessee does not have the termination right? Then
also we have to
Full
do it
period.
for 6 years.
Full period.
full period.
10
If
years.
lessee does not have the termination right, Bibu, from the lessee side, just think about, your landlord has the termination right, you don't have the termination right, and the contract is for 10 years. So according to you, Bibu, what should be the lease term? तुम्हें तो
Then
पूरा
sir,
ही करना है ना 10 year.
Then 10 years, sir.
Yes, full period. Like Sanjay told, full period. Yes. If only lessee has the termination right, then
Then if it is not exercised, then we can include it.
so if lessee has the termination right, then you need to consider on the commencement date whether it is reasonably certain that the lessee is not going to exercise, lessee is not going to avail the termination period. मतलब lessee termination period का right avail नहीं करेगा. Reasonable certainty, and I took so many examples on that. Then we discussed lease consideration. Lease consideration means lease payment. You remember lease payment?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Neha, you remember lease payment?
Fixed payment, right.
Yeah, fixed lease payments and
Just hold on,
lease-
Sanjay. Hold on. Neha, do you remember lease payment? Fixed payment plus in substance fixed payment minus lease incentive plus
variable
variable.
incentives dependent
variable lease
upon
payment.
the-
Which variable lease payments?
dependent upon the index.
Fixed
of the rate.
index rate is given ascertained on the measurement date.
Yes. So variable lease payment depending on an index or a rate. Okay. Plus exercise price if purchase option is reasonably certain to avail. Exercise price plus
Termination penalties.
termination penalties plus residual value guarantee
Residual value
given by the
guarantee.
lessee to the lessor. And these are the 5 kind of lease payment. These were the 5 boxes from the lessee perspective. All these are also considered from lessor perspective plus what?
Residual guarantee value is provided with third party.
Third parties.
Lessee or not.
So residual value guarantee given by anyone, any party other than the lessee, right? So from the lessee perspective, only residual value guarantee given by the lessee was considered, and it is also considered in the lessor. But in lessor, since lessor is the owner of the asset, so doesn't matter if the lessee is providing, even though if all the other parties are also providing, the other ones are also providing, right? So in that case, if other ones are also providing, in that case, you are also required to be considered from lessor perspective, right? Okay. So we discussed the lease consideration and why these are important. So these 2 conditions are important to understand. Is it a lease? Yes, it is a lease. You have entered into Ind AS 116. Now you have to determine the lease term and the lease payment so that you can do the discounting and you can compute the present value of future lease payment, which is equivalent to lease liabilities and which is equivalent to your right of use asset. This is what we have covered. Inception date of the lease, commencement date of the lease, we have also considered. Inception date of the lease and commencement date of the lease, right? So this is what we have covered, right? So friends, then what we have covered, then interest rate implicit in the lease. You remember IRR in the books of the lessor or IBR in the books of the lessee, right? If both are given, Chitra, IRR is also given and IBR is also given, then what you will consider? Then what you will consider?
IRR.
IRR, very good. So first priority has to be given to IRR, internal rate of return in the books of the lessor, right? But if it is not given, then you can go for with IBR. Then we discussed initial direct cost. Ayush, what is meant by initial direct cost? Ayush, what is meant by initial direct cost?
The cost associated with the lease, such as stamp duty, commissioning, legal fees, some stamp duty, legal fees, any legal documentation preparation,
Yes.
payment made to tenants to
Yes.
vacate the property, such related costs.
Yeah, so initial direct costs are those costs, those incremental costs, which is directly associated with the lease contract, right? So incremental cost of entering into a lease contract, For example, when you enter into a lease contract, when you finalize the lease, you have to pay the brokerage or commission to the broker, to the agent. You have to pay the legal fees for drafting the agreement or lease document preparation cost, or you have to pay the stamp duty. Once you have finalized the premises, probably you end up paying some compensation to the existing tenant to move out from that place, right? So these are considered as an initial direct cost. What is not considered as an initial direct cost? Employee salaries is not considered. Legal fee for services rendered before the execution of the lease, right? So for taking a decision, you are paying some legal fees for taking a decision, for valuation fee, legal fees. So if you are paying something for taking a decision, whether I should go for this lease or this lease, no, that will not be considered as an incremental direct cost. That will not be considered as initial direct cost, right? So what is considered as an incremental cost? What is considered as initial direct cost? You have taken the decision. Now you are entering into a contract. Now you are finalizing the lease. Okay. So that is considered as an initial direct cost. And this initial direct cost is also added to the cost of right of use asset. Then we discuss the meaning of right of use asset. What is right of use asset? It is present value of future lease payment. Future, what is meant by future? What is meant by future lease payments?
The payment which going to be received.
So future lease payment means payment which is going to be made by the lessee after commencement date, right? After commencement date, because you're doing the accounting on the commencement date. वही तो future होगा ना? So in your solution, if the payment is made on the commencement date, you are taking that payment also. But what you are doing? You're taking that payment, but the time value of money, the present value factor will be 1 for the payment which is made on the commencement date. So you are computing present value of future lease payments. You are also showing right of use asset, but at the same time, what entry you are passing? Lease liability account debit to bank account on the day 1. And then you are calculating the interest. You remember 2-3 questions I have solved where the payment was being made at the beginning of the year. The first payment was made on the commencement date. So while computing the interest, what I did from the opening balance, first I deducted the lease payment, then I computed the interest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Otherwise, if you see my lease liability schedule, first is opening balance, then interest cost, then lease payment, then closing balance, right? So my right of use asset is equal to what? Equal to lease liability, means present value of future lease payment, plus any payment made on or before commencement date, okay, advance payment, plus initial direct cost, plus provision for decommissioning, dismantling, or removing the asset. These are the 4 items which will be getting added to the right of use asset. Then we discuss the exemption to the right of use asset and lease liability computation. Short-term lease and low value lease. What is short-term lease? A lease for a period of 12 months or less. In one of the exam, a question came where the lease is given for 12 months. And the question was asked whether the exemption is available or not. So the maximum students made a mistake. Why? Because they are thinking that this short-term lease is less than 12 months. No, it is 12 months or less. It is
12 month or less.
12
Then
months
12 months
or
is
less.
good.
So 12 month is also a
Short-term lease.
Short-term lease.
short-term lease, right? And what is not considered as a short-term lease? Where the purchase option is available. That will not be considered as a short-term lease, okay? And this short-term lease option has to be availed by way of class of asset, okay? Right? Okay. Then low value leases, friends. What is low value leases? The leases where the underlying asset is of low value, okay? That is known as a low value leases. And if the low value leases, if the subleasing is there, then the low value leases option is not available for exemption, right? So if the item which you are taking on a lease and you are subleasing that item like printer, photocopy machine, office equipment, you are subleasing. In that case, you cannot avail the exemption of low value leases. What is meant by availment of exemption? Means you are not required to create
Lease liability.
Lease
lease
liability.
liability and ROU.
RU.
So then what accounting you will do?
Normal accounting.
Normal accounting means
Expenses.
Rent account debit to bank.
expense to bank, right?
Expense to bank.
Expense to lessor to bank, or expense to bank. So basically expense accrual accounting you will do. Okay. These questions we have done, illustration 27, 28. These questions we have already covered. Then we also discussed the subsequent measurement of ROU asset cost model, revaluation model. All these notes are there on the Excel file, right? All these notes are there. Okay. The relevant notes. Lease liability, you have to add the interest cost. You have to make the lease payment. All these things you have to do. Okay. This illustration we have also covered. You remember this illustration 9.04%, where we were discussing the discount factor,
Yes, sir.
present value factor, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Separation of a lease and non-lease component in a contract, where the lessee is paying for maintenance, lessee is paying for electricity, water, lessee is paying for the lease rental. In that case, two situations are available, two options are available. Option number 1, you have to split lease and non-lease component, right? And Ind AS 116 is only applicable to what? Both the component or only lease component?
Lease.
Lease component. Ind AS 116 is applicable on lease component. So number 1, you have to split lease and non-lease component. And how to split lease and non-lease component? Whatever payment you are making, whatever consideration you are paying as a lessee, you have to allocate
On
the
the
consideration in the
standalone prices.
standalone price. Yes, in the standalone price, which is market value, which is fair value of the lease and non-lease component. Number 2, you don't want to do these tasks, then
Then the entire payment will be treated as a lease payment, sir.
Entire payment will be considered as a lease payment. Means for the purpose of present value of lease payment, for the purpose of computing lease liability and then right of use asset, for the purpose of computing the lease liability, for the purpose of computing the present value, the entire payment is considered as a lease payment. Right? Okay. We discussed this illustration number 15 of study material also. Then we have covered the meaning of lease modification, right? We understood how the lease modification has to be considered. We did illustration 33, right? We did illustration and the other illustration 34 also. And what we discussed, decrease in scope, all other lease modification, right? We discussed this concept as well, that when the increase in scope is in line with the increase in consideration, basis market value, then that lease contract will be considered as a new lease contract. Okay, right? Then friends, if there is an increase in scope, but it is not equivalent to increase in consideration, there is only increase in lease term, there is only change in consideration, then you need to remeasure lease liability at the modification date and you need to adjust right of use asset. If there is a decrease in lease term, decrease in scope, something is decreasing, then you have to de-recognize your lease liability and right of use asset partially. Have we covered the examples and illustration on this aspect?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this illustration 34 we have covered, right? Illustration 36 we have covered, where the lease payments were decreasing from 1 lakh to 95,000. So what we did, we computed revised lease liability. And what is the steps for modification? Steps for modification accounting is number 1, you need to compute your lease liability and right of use asset as per the initial contract, right?
Existing lease model.
Existing contract, you need to compute right of use asset and lease liability. Then you need to compute the carrying value of lease liability and right of use asset on the modification date, right? And
Yes.
how to compute right of use asset? You need to charge depreciation. So carrying amount of right of use asset is equal to gross block, means amount at the commencement date minus accumulated depreciation minus accumulated impairment loss, if any. Then you have reached at the carrying value of right of use asset on the modification date. Then friends, you need to compute the carrying value of lease liability. How to compute the carrying value of lease liability? You need to add interest cost minus lease payment. This will give you the closing balance of lease liability. Okay. So this ROU lease liability need to compute it on the modification date. Now you need to compute revised lease liability on the basis of revised terms and conditions. You got a lease liability, revised lease liability. You compare the revised lease liability on the modification date with the existing lease liability on the modification date. Whatever gap is there, for example, if there is an increase in lease term, increase in scope, which is not in line with the consideration, right? Something is increasing, then your lease liability will also increase, right? So
Yes.
whatever there is an increase, you have to add to your lease liability and you have to add to your right of use asset. Okay. But if something is decreasing, then your lease liability will also decrease. So whatever is decreased, your lease liability will decrease, and the same decrease you have to adjust to your right of use asset. Right of use asset you will credit and lease liability you will debit. But what happens if the decrease, let's say the decrease is 100 rupee in the lease liability, but the carrying value of right of use asset is only 90 rupees. Then will you make right of use asset negative?
No, sir.
No, sir. The 10 rupees goes to P&L.
10 rupee goes to P&L. And what is the accounting? Accounting is lease liability debit 100 rupees, to right of use asset credit 90 rupee, you will make it 0. And then to P&L on modification of lease contract 10 rupees, right? So this is what we need to do. So friends, we have covered these aspects in the lessee accounting. We need to discuss sublease concept also. We'll discuss the concept of sublease once I will complete the concept of lessor accounting. I hope you found this entire revision useful.
Yes, sir. Excellent, sir. Within 25 minutes, you covered all the aspects, sir, up to the modification, list modification.
Thank you. So let me take you to the annual report of one of the listed company. I hope the annual report is on your screen. I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it look
Visible.
like.
Yes.
I do so.
So this annual report belongs to which company?
I
ITC.
do so.
ITC Limited. ITC Limited. You must have heard about ITC. You must be using the product of ITC. Yes.
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 Ashirwad Atta, Sunfist, Bingo.
Even salt.
Yes, Salt also. So many product of ITC. It's a FMCG company. Let me take you to the balance sheet of ITC first, okay? This is the balance sheet on 31st March 2024. In the balance sheet, can you see the G, point number G, right of use asset?
Yes.
And what is the value of the right of use asset?
721.69 crores.
721.69 crore. They have some offices, outlets on leases basis. So 721 crores. And can you see the lease liability also on the liability side? Non-current lease liability and current lease liability. Yeah. 262 crores
Yes.
and 46 crores.
46 crores.
So lease liability is lower than your right of use asset. As I told you, right of use asset is on a straight line basis. Lease liability is on a compounding basis. You have to add interest and you have to reduce lease payments. So then there is a depreciation and there is a finance cost also. Okay. There is a depreciation and there is a finance cost. Okay. Depreciation on ROU asset, finance cost on lease liability. Finance cost on lease liability. Yes. So then let me take you to the accounting policy. Yes, accounting policy. Yeah. Yes. Can you see this accounting policy? Leases. Can you see the leases on the screen?
Yes, sir.
The company assesses at contract inception. So now I will complete the journey from student to chartered accountant. Okay. Whatever you are learning, whatever you are reading, studying, that practically you will do when you will get into industry or practice after qualifying a CA. The company assesses at contract inception. What is meant by contract inception? Which date it is talking about, Neha?
Sir, when contract is in force.
नहीं, so I am asking, contract inception means कौन सी date की बात कर रहा है ये?
Sir, inception date.
Inception date, yes, very good. Inception date. So the company assesses at inception date, and what I have taught you guys on the inception date, what you need to determine? You need to determine is it a lease contract or not, right?
Yes.
Is it a lease contract or not? So the company assesses at contract inception whether a contract is or contains a lease, right? This is what we studied. A contract is or contains a lease if it conveys the right to control the use of an identified asset for a period of time in exchange for a consideration. Right to control the use of an identified asset for a period of time in exchange for consideration. What is this? This is a lease definition. Have we covered it?
Yes.
5 times. We have covered it 5 times so far. Every day we have covered the definition of a lease contract. Now Now we came to company as a lessee, means lessee accounting. Right of use assets are recognized at inception of a contract or arrangements for significant lease components at cost less lease incentives. This right of use assets are recognized at inception of a contract or arrangement. Here the word should be commencement date. But here, this accounting policy, this company is talking about inception of a contract or arrangement, means it is talking about commencement date, right? But technically speaking, this word should be commencement date. Okay. So when you will recognize right of use asset or lease liability? At commencement date. Okay. Are recognized at inception of a contract or arrangement for significant lease components at cost less lease incentives. So whatever lease incentive will be there, you remember in ROU computation we talked about present value future lease payment plus any amount paid on or before commencement date minus lease incentive receipt from the lessor plus initial direct cost plus provision for decommissioning, dismantling, right? If any ROU asset are subsequently measured at cost less accumulated depreciation and impairment losses, if any, the cost of ROU asset includes what? What? The cost of ROU asset includes what?
Sir, any
Amount of lease
prayer
liability recognized. Just a minute, Swaminathan. The amount of lease liability recognized plus initial direct cost incurred and lease payment made at or before the lease commencement date. Have you gone through with these nomenclature, these wordings, these steps?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. In the Excel file, in the PPT, everywhere you have gone with this. Yeah. Yes. So exactly what you have studied, that is in the annual report, that is in ITC. So just think about, after qualifying your CA, when this ITC came into a campus and you are interested in FP&A profile, you are interested in a financial reporting profile, consolidation profile. So if there is a financial reporting person who is sitting on the interview panel, he will ask you, or he will not ask question on Ind AS 116, tell me. He will definitely ask.
Definitely you will ask.
He will definitely ask, because Ind AS 116 is fully applicable to this company, and whatever you have studied in your CA final curriculum, it is there on the annual report. If you will say, I don't know whether this accounting has to happen on inception date or commencement date, then there is a problem. If you will say that, oh, I don't know at what is the carrying amount of ROU, there is a problem. If you say that, I don't know how this ROU is going to be computed, that your present value of future lease payment, amount paid on or before commencement date plus initial direct cost, there is a problem, right? How to subsequently measure ROU and lease liability, there is a problem if you don't. Okay. Then it is written, ROU asset are generally depreciated over the shorter. Now it is talking about depreciation period. You remember depreciation period. It is also written here. Your ROU is going to be depreciated over the shorter, means lower. I have used the word lower. Lower of what? Lease term and estimated useful life of the underlying asset on a straight line basis. Your lease term is 10 years and your estimated useful life, your estimated usage period is 7 years. Then in what period, whether 10 year or 7 year, in which period you will depreciate? 10 year or 7 year? Tell me.
If it is a purchase option is there, then full year you can use it. Otherwise, whatever the lease term, only those period you can use it.
If purchase option is not there, then lower of lease term and the estimated useful life. For example, you are expecting to use that lease premise only for 7 years, but the contract is for 10 years. So whether you will depreciate over a period of 7 years or 10 years?
7 years.
7 years. Okay, so let me write down a tricky question for all of you, and then I'll again come back to the annual report. Example. And I know most of you will make an error when this question will come in exam. A Limited took up premises on a lease basis. A Limited need a premises. A Limited need a premises on a lease basis for a period of 3 years. For a period of 3 years. Yes. A approached B Limited, whose premises was available for lease. B told A that he will not lease for a period of less than 5 years. Less than 5 years. Whereas A is only needing this for 3 years for a specific purpose. Okay? For a specific purpose. The annual lease rent is rupees 1 lakh. 1 lakh. The annual lease rent is 1 lakh. The annual lease rent is 1 lakh. Just a minute. A was in urgent need and hence it agreed for 5-year period. The annual lease rent is rupees 1 lakh. Compute the ROU and lease liability and the carrying value of ROU at the end of each year. Yeah, this is the question which came in your exam, let's say. How will you answer this question? How will you answer this question? कैसे आंसर करोगे इस क्वेश्चन को? Yes. First of all, tell me, what is the depreciation period for this question? What is the depreciation period for this question? Tell me.
5 years, sir.
Tell me one thing.
Sir,
Tell me one thing. Just a minute, Swaminathan. Tell me one thing. For what is the estimated useful life of this ROU for this A Limited? Means what is the period for which A Limited is expecting to use this asset?
3 years.
3
only
years.
for 3 years.
Only for 3 years.
Yes, sir.
But what is the lease period? What is the lease term in this case?
5
5 years.
5
5
years.
years.
You remember an example I have taken. You went to a medicine shop and you want a paracetamol, a 4 tablet of paracetamol. He told you that we will not sell the loose tablets. We'll sell the entire strip.
Yeah.
Okay. तो उसने आपको पूरा मेडिसिन का पत्ता दे दिया. And that strip of tablet is having 10 tablet. that strip of tablet is having 10 tablet. Okay. That strip of tablet is having 10 tablet. Now my question is, will you eat all 10 tablet or will you eat only 4 tablet?
Only
Required
four
tablet.
tablets.
Only 4 tablet means your useful medicine, useful dose is only 4 tablet, but you got 10 tablet, right? So what is your estimated, what is your expected useful life or expected useful period or expected useful usage period is 4 only. But what you got? You got 10. Okay. But what you have paid for? 10 tablet. Okay. In this case, your estimated useful period is 3 years only. But you are going to pay for 3 year or 5 year?
5
5
years.
years.
You are going to pay for 5 year. What error, what mistake students make in the exam or in their practical life? Either they depreciate for 5 year or they compute the ROU for 3 years only and depreciate for 3 years. Are you getting me?
Yes,
आप
sir.
गलती क्या करते हो? या तो
Yes, sir.
ROU पूरा 5 साल का ROU कंप्यूट करते हो 5 साल के लीज पेमेंट के बेसिस पे और 5
पूरा
ईयर में
depreciate-
डेप्रिशिएट करते हो. दैट इज अ मिस्टेक. मिस्टेक
या तो
नंबर
3
2,
साल का.
मिस्टेक नंबर 2, आप डेप्रिसिएशन पीरियड तो सही कैलकुलेट करते हो 3 इयर्स, बट ROU की कॉम्पिटिशन भी 3 साल के लिए करते हो. You are paying for 5 years. In the last 2 years, doesn't matter you use or you don't use the asset. But what you will do? You have to pay the lease rent, na? वो
Yes,
तो
sir.
कह रहा है आपको ताला लगा के रखना, ताला लगा के रखो. If you want to lock the house, you can lock the house. Right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So friends, in this question solution, the lease liability and ROU asset needs to be computed for 5 years. For 5 years at the commencement date. At the commencement date. Okay? At the commencement date. However, the depreciation period is equal to lower of what? Lower of expected
Expected use and lease term.
estimated useful life means usage period, or lease period means lease term, right? Lease term. So my estimated useful life and my lease term. What is my estimated useful life? 3 years. What is my lease term? 5 years.
5 years.
Okay. So what is my depreciation? What is my depreciation period?
For 3 years.
Yes.
Is 3 years. Depreciation period is 3 years. Okay. So what is my ROU calculation? What is my ROU calculation? मेरा ROU calculation क्या होगा? What is my ROU calculation?
Future value of lease rentals for 5 years.
Simple, you're right. Present value factor, I'm assuming 10%. Okay. I'll write in the question also, but here I am assuming 10%. सबसे सिंपल 10% ही है ना.
Yes, sir.
आपका लीज पेमेंट कितना है? 1 लाख. So 5 year या 3 year? Whether I should do this for 5 year? Yes. आपको पेमेंट तो 5 year.
Yeah. Payment to be done for 5 years, but we will depreciate only for 3 years.
Payment to be done for 5 year. Very good. Yes.
I think upon 3rd year, we will pay the remaining payment, we will vacate. That's it.
So if you
Because-
will have to pay the full payment, tell me one thing, Saminathan. Let's say you want a house for 3 years. You have paid for 5 years. So technically speaking, in the last 2 years, so you have to pay the full lease rental. So don't you think you will continue that house? Even though you will not use this house, it is not usable for you. I mean to say, not it is not giving you future economic benefit, but still you will take the possession of that house now. अगर कोई काम आया, if in future you can get the benefit, you will avail the benefit. So what happened? Let me complete this question. Then you will get the context. So what is my present value of future lease payment? Present value of future lease payments?
379.
379. 379. Okay. So commencement date. What is the calculation at commencement date? What is the entry at commencement date? Right of
Use assets to lease liability.
asset to lease liability. So lease liability is 379,079, and this is my right. Yeah. So then your lease liability computation. Shall I do the lease liability computation also? Let me do that. So what I'm doing, I'm copying the format from the earlier question. That's all. Okay. You must be thinking what I'm doing. I'm just copying the format. यही कर रहा हूं ना मैं? So that it will save time. Okay. Yeah. Yes. What is my opening balance? My opening balance is 379,079. What is my interest rate? 10%. 10%. This multiply by 10%. What is my lease payment?
1 lakh.
1 lakh is my lease payment. Then this is my closing balance. So why you will end up paying in 3 years? If you have a time till 4 years, आप 3 years में क्यों पे करोगे? अगर आपके पास टाइम 4 year तक का है तो करेक्ट 5 year तक का टाइम है तो नॉट 4 year 5 year. So you will pay till the time of 5 years. Simple. So this is how your lease liability will go. But what about right of use asset? This right of use asset, your expected usage is only for 3 years. So depreciation has to be charged for 3 years, right? So carrying value of ROU and lease liability, ROU and lease liability at the end of each year. At the end of each year. Right? At the end of each year. So what is my depreciation? What is my depreciation on ROU? Depreciation ROU. What is my depreciation on ROU?
379,079 divided
379,079 divided by 3.
by
3 or 5 divided by 3. It is divided by 3. So my each year depreciation is, and this is my carrying value of ROU. So my first year carrying value is this minus this. Again, what is my second year depreciation? What is my third year depreciation? So my second year ROU carrying value is this. Third year ROU carrying value is this. And what about fourth year and fifth year depreciation? 0, 0. What is the carrying value? 0, 0. What is the carrying value of lease liability? Carrying value of lease liability. What is the carrying value? At the
0.
end of the first year, this. Second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. This is your carrying value of lease liability. Yes. So students, Have you understood this example? Have you understood this question where depreciation period is lower than the lease term? How to do the subsequent accounting? How to do the accounting? Right? Is this clear or clear?
It's very much clear, sir.
Clear, sir.
So that was the reason why I have captured this example, so that you will not get hit in your exam. Okay? Yes. Okay. Right? So the only problem in this question is, when where the student are making mistake. The only problem is, at times either you compute ROU and lease liability for 3 years, or you depreciate for 5 years. दोनों ही गलत है. Right? So computation of ROU lease liability is for 5 year, and then depreciation for 3 year, only for ROU. Right? Until and unless your question will tell you that at the end of the 3 year, the company has decided to make the remaining payments of lease and vacate the premises. If this is the question, then of course your 5-year lease term has been preponed to the 3-year lease term with a higher lease rental payment at the end of the 3 year. Correct? Or termination penalty aa gayi. You have terminated and termination penalty is there. That's all. Correct? Then तो
Yes,
lease
sir.
term is
Right,
equal to
sir.
3 year ना. Then तो lease term ही 3 year हो गया. Okay? Yes. Yeah. Now again, let me take you back to the annual report. So friends, this depreciation period, ROU assets are generally depreciated over the shorter of the lease term and estimated useful life of the underlying asset on a straight line basis. Lease term is determined based on the consideration of facts and circumstances that create an economic incentive to exercise a renewal option or not exercise a renewal option, or not to exercise a renewal, or not to exercise a termination option. What is this?
Optional termination period.
This is optional renewal period and optional termination period. Remember what is written. There must be an economic incentive, means reasonable certainty, to avail the optional renewal period, or there is an economic incentive, means reasonable certainty to not to avail the termination option. Right? Then what they have written? Lease payment associated with short-term leases. That is those that have a lease term of what? 12 months or less from the commencement date and do not contain a purchase option. पढ़ा था ये आप लोगों ने?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Chitra, have we read this? Have we read this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, then do not contain a purchase option and 12 months or less from the commencement date, and low value leases where the value of underlying asset when new in order of magnitude is rupees 5 lakh or less. What I told you, the company has to create an accounting policy.
Yes.
The company has to make a policy that what they are considering as a low value asset. So
Yes.
what they have taken here? 5 lakh.
5 lakh or less.
Yes. In IFRS, the $5,000 is there. So they have taken in line with IFRS in round figure 5 lakh rupees. Okay. Are charged to a statement of profit and loss on a straight line basis over the term of the relevant lease. Chitra, have we covered this straight line basis? Lease equalization.
Yes, sir. Straight line basis and also the systematic basis.
Yes, systematic basis and straight line basis is the concept of systematic basis, right? Okay. Then now tell me one thing from this big listed companies, ITC, whatever I have shown you as an accounting policy, every bit of it, have you covered or not covered?
Covered. Everything is
Covered, sir.
covered.
The entire revision again you are doing. Thanks for that.
Yeah. So Ayush, whatever concepts is given in this in annual report, have we covered those concepts? Yes or no?
Yes, sir, covered.
Yeah. So the point is, what I'm trying to tell you guys, I'm trying to tell you that whatever you are studying, It is all practical. It is printed on a lakhs of crores of listed companies' annual report, financial statement, right? So when you're reading these concepts, you are making yourself ready for future as well. Okay, right? So the company recognizes lease liability. Now let's come to the lease liability. अब ROU वाला काम हो गया, अब lease liability. The company recognizes lease liability measured at the present value of the lease payments to be made on the recognition date of the lease. Right? Present value of future lease payments. Such lease liability do not include variable lease payment that do not depend on an index or a rate.
Yes.
Sanjay,
Yes.
which variable lease payment here it is talking about? Which lease payments will not included in the lease consideration, lease payment?
Other than index, which are
That
not
are other
dependent
than
upon index and the rate.
index or rate. For example, variable lease payment depending on the turnover, depending on the volume of production, right? Depending on the volume of production. So those lease payments are not required to be considered in the lease payment. If it will not be considered in the lease payment, but for example, the variable lease payment which is not depending on index or a rate, the payment has made. So how the accounting will happen?
Charge to P&L.
Normal accounting. It will charge to P&L. Okay. Rent expense to bank, which are recognized as expense in the period in which they are incurred. यहाँ लिख भी दिया. Interest on lease liability is recognized using the effective interest method. What is effective interest method? EIR means IRR or
IRR.
IBR. Okay. Lease liability are subsequently increased to reflect the accretion of interest. You have to add interest and reduced for the lease payment made. The carrying amount of lease liability is also remeasured upon modification of lease arrangement or upon change in the assessment of the lease term. The effect of such remeasurement is adjusted to the value of the ROU asset. Have we done this part also, Neha? Have we done this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, modification accounting. So each and every line item of this ITC annual report we have covered. Each and every line item of this ITC annual report we have covered in our preparation as a student of CA final. Okay.
So the effect of remeasurement is adjusted the value of ROE asset and lease liability.
So Saminathan, of course, lease liability is the first step. It is the first step. So of course, what you need to change whenever there is a change in the scope. So your ROU is dependent on your lease liability. Your lease liability is also the first step. It is always the first calculation. When I'm preparing a schedule, that is not the schedule of your ROU asset. That is the schedule of present value of future lease payment. And then your present value of future lease payment is what? It is a lease liability. And your ROU is equal to your lease liability. Plus. So the point is, Saminathan, the first step is whenever there is a change in lease liability, you have to adjust lease liability. क्योंकि रीमेजरमेंट में होगा क्या? लीज पेमेंट ही तो चेंज होंगी, मतलब लीज पेमेंट पे इंपैक्ट आएगा. अगर लीज पेमेंट पे इंपैक्ट आएगा तो इंपैक्ट किस पे आएगा? लीज लाइबिलिटी पे आएगा. So there are two kind of adjustment with the lease liability. Of course, lease liability has to be adjusted, but the counter impact has to be given to either P&L or ROU asset. So where it has to go? It has to go to ROU asset. Okay, right?
Right.
So lease liability is understood. Change has to be came in the lease liability. That is the first step. We are always computing revised lease liability. And then we are comparing revised lease liability on the modification date with the carrying value of the lease liability on the modification date. This is what we are doing. So we were very much clear. Lease liability में तो impact करना ही करना है. But where the second entry will go? Where the second impact will go? Okay. Yes. So have you got some comfort after looking at the annual report of ITC Limited or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Very much
very.
comfort.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So friends, now let's come to the lessee accounting and lessor accounting. So what is meant by lessee accounting, lessor accounting? So accounting in the books of lessee is lessee accounting. Accounting in the books of lessor is a lessor accounting. So we have already understood the lessee accounting. What we were doing so far, we were doing a lessee accounting. Can anyone help me understand? And it would be great, Mamta, if you will help me understand that for the purpose of lessee, we have covered this in 4 classes for the purpose of lessee accounting. But for the lessor accounting, we will complete it today. In half class, we will complete lessor accounting. Why? Why, Mamta?
Many concepts are same.
Yes, in lessor accounting, so basically moving from old Indian accounting standard to new Ind AS 116, lessor accounting is primarily remain unchanged. Lessor accounting is primarily same. Or if I compare my AS 19 with Ind AS 116 for lessor accounting, it is largely same. There is no major difference between accounting standard and Ind AS 116 in terms of lessor accounting. But if I talk about lessee accounting, it has completely changed. It has completely changed. So that is why we spent a lot of time in lessee accounting and will spend a very little time in lessor accounting. Okay? Okay. So lessor accounting is largely a normal accounting. Okay. I'll cover in the next 1.5 hour or 1 hour 40 minutes. I'll cover that. So, but for lessee accounting, it is dramatically changed. It is completely changed, lessee accounting. And hence, we spent a lot of time in the lessee accounting. Friends, we understood that in case of lessee accounting, there is no concept of operating and finance lease. Have we discussed the lease classification in case of lessee accounting?
No, sir.
No, sir.
There is
No.
no
Single
classification.
single lease model.
Yes, there is no classification of operating lease, finance lease. It is only a lease. It is only a lease. It is only a lease. And what we covered that whatever is the lease term, whatever is the lease payment you are making, you have to do the discounting of the lease payment on the commencement date, and whatever is the present value of the lease payment, that will be recognized as a lease liability and right of use asset. Okay. So that's what we understood. That's what we discussed. There is only a single lease model. But in case of a lessor accounting, as I told you, in case of a lessor accounting, it is same like accounting standard 19. Same like accounting standard 19. Same like Ind AS 17. Might be you guys have not covered Ind AS 17, right? Because Ind AS 17 was the old Ind AS on leases, which was deleted on 1st April 2019. And from 1st April 2019, Ind AS 116 was introduced. So friends, in case of a lessor accounting, there is a separate concept of operating lease and finance lease, which you guys have understood, which you guys have covered since your childhood days. Okay. So there is a transfer of risk and reward. There is a transfer of risk and reward. So when there is a transfer of risk and reward, it is known as a finance lease. But when there is no transfer of risk and reward, it is known as a operating lease. We'll talk more on this. But have you understood this lessee accounting, lessor accounting, the structural changes? The structure? Yeah? Have you
Yes.
understood? Not understood? Okay.
Yes, understood.
Okay. So now we are going to cover the lessor accounting. Before that, let me know if you guys have any question. Chitra has a question. sir, what is the IRR or IBR? So Chitra, I have covered this concept. Were you not
Sir,
there? Yeah.
that was the previous example actually, not a question.
Okay. Example. So the 10%, right? Where I have
Yes,
taken 10%. Okay.
yes.
That is not a question. Okay, great. Ayush has a question. And Ayush has a question. In case of short-term lease or low value lease, why we can't charge P&L on actual basis? Ayush, these are the provisions in accounting standard, right? If somebody will ask you, Ayush, tell me, how many type of incomes are there in income tax? What is the classification of income in income tax? कितने type of income होती है income tax में? Ayush, how many types of income are there?
So not as a law, but in general logical meaning that why,
I'm
yeah,
covering that. Not to worry, not to worry. So there are
right, right,
5 kind
sir.
of income, right?
Right, sir.
The salary, business and profession, house property, capital gain, other sources. Why can't there could be 6 type of income? So first of all, there is a law. And when the law is drafted, this Ind AS is also a law notified in Companies Act. When the law is drafted considering the majority of the coverage, right? And the conciseness also, number 1. Number 2, the law is also drafted on the appropriateness. For example, sitting today, right? Ayush, you are paying a lease rent of 1 lakh rupees in the current year, 1 lakh rupees in the next year, same lease rental you are paying. Okay, same lease rental. So, same lease rental you are paying every year. So tell me, when you are computing this right of use and lease liability calculation, when you are doing this Ind AS 116 accounting, your lease rental is same, but whether your expense in P&L will be same. Answer is no.
More or
नहीं
less,
होगा ना.
no.
Right of use
Yes,
asset पे you will charge the same depreciation, but interest
right.
cost will be different.
Interest will
Correct?
be different, right?
So the total P&L impact, depreciation plus interest, in the first year is not equivalent to the second year, so on and so forth.
Right, sir.
So tell me one thing, Ayush, and logically, we are discussing logically, okay? Tell me one thing. While I am paying the same rent, 1 lakh in the current year, 1 lakh in the second year, next year, but why my P&L is different in the different years? Why? Because of time value of money concept. Yes or no?
Right, sir.
Right? Because let's say if I'll ask you, give me 1 lakh rupee today, and if I'll ask you, give me 1 lakh rupee after 1 year, tell me which value has a higher value. 1 lakh rupee today has a higher value, or 1 lakh rupee to be paid after 1 year has a higher value?
Today.
Today's value, sir.
Today value has a higher value, right? Because let's say if you have to pay me 1 lakh rupee today, you have to arrange 1 lakh rupee and give it to me. But for example, after 1 year, you have to pay me 1 lakh rupee. What you will do? You will deposit 91,000 rupees or 92,000 rupees in State Bank of India account, and it will automatically become 1 lakh rupee after 1 year because you will get an interest. Means the money which you are going to pay after 1 year, the current value is 91,000 or 92,000 only. So Ayush, it means while you are paying 1 lakh rupee today, you are paying 1 lakh rupee tomorrow, means in the next year, but your expense in the P&L is higher in the current year and lower in the second year comparatively. Why? Because of this time value of money concept. Yes or no? So this
Okay,
is
sir.
how, so let me complete first. This is how, if I talk about today, I don't want to create this ROU and lease liability accounting. I want to avail an exemption. So tell me one thing, sitting today, my lease contract arrangement has been completed. Sitting today, I have the entire visibility that in the first year I'll pay you 1 lakh rupee and it will keep on increasing by 10% every year. I have the complete visibility today. Okay. So don't you think if you have to do this normal accounting, right? So you have to charge the expense in the P&L on a systematic basis. So don't you think what is the appropriate accounting? So you are end up paying 1,10,000 in the next year because you are paying 1 lakh rupee today. Your next year 1,10,000 is depending on the 1 lakh rupees today. Whatever you are paying today, 10% escalation is there. So probably this entire lease arrangement has been entered into a concept where the lessee is telling you, listen, I'm paying you this much amount in this year and with a 10% of the top up in the next year. So that's how if I will see the concept from the lessor accounting perspective, which we are doing in accounting standard 19 also, and we'll see from the appropriateness perspective, whatever I am paying in a particular lease contract that has to be added and divided by that period, it will give me the equalized lease rental amount, right? So that is a more appropriate accounting treatment. Now, answering to your question, can I record on an actual basis also? Answer is yes. Okay. You are saying that I will record on a cash flow basis. Answer is yes. But the point is, what is more appropriate? Straight line method is more appropriate, where you need to do it on an equalized basis. That is more appropriate. That is also in line with the old accounting standard 19 and old Ind AS 17 and the lessor accounting in Ind AS 116. Right? So this is the answer, Ayush. If you will do that, that is wrong. Answer is not. But is it appropriate? Answer is no. Okay. So
Okay,
that
sir.
was the
So
logic. That was
right. So main thing what I understand that straight line basis which we are following, the systematic basis, is mainly because of the time value of money.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Now, friends, let's come to the lessor accounting. And in case of a lessor accounting, the concept of operating lease and concept of finance lease also exist. Concept of operating lease and finance lease exist in the lessor. Okay. So in case of lessor accounting and the concept of operating lease, finance lease exist. So what is a operating lease and finance lease? So basically, in operating lease, the risk and reward incidental to the ownership of an asset has not been transferred. But in finance lease, the risk and reward incidental to ownership of the asset has been transferred. Basically, how can you say that the lease is a finance lease? In standard, there are some indicators which are given. Whether anyone remember the indicator of finance lease in accounting standard 19? Anyone who remember
Yes.
the indicator?
Yes, sir. If the substantial all risk and rewards is transferred to the lessee, the full economic benefit is received by the lessee, and he gets the purchase option. And in those cases, sir.
Yeah, there are 5 conditions. First condition, ownership, option of ownership. If the lease payment, if the lease terms contains the purchase option, means the lease transfer ownership of the asset to the lessee by the end of the lease term. If your lease contract contains a purchase option, transfer of ownership option, then it is an indicator of finance lease. Number 2, there is a purchase option and the price, and the purchase price, exercise price, the exercise price is at a nominal value, right? Your exercise price is a nominal price, means lessee will tell you, like I have given you an example of a car. Let's say the lease contract is for 7 years and the life of the diesel car is 10 years. At the end of the 7 years and the current value of the car is 10 lakh rupee, means the new value of the car is 10 lakh rupee. After 7 years, the lessor has given a purchase option to the lessee, and the purchase price, which is also fixed in the contract, is 1 lakh rupee. So tell me one thing, after 7 years, would you like to purchase this car if you have maintained this asset for 7 years? You got the new car on a lease basis. You got the new car. You are using this car for 7 years. After 7 years, you have a purchase option. And the exercise price is 1 lakh rupee. Tell me, will you avail or not avail? आपको 1 लाख रुपए में कार मिल रही है, 3 साल की लाइफ बची है, आप अवेल करोगे नहीं करोगे? और 7 साल के बाद 1 लाख रुपए देने हैं.
Yes.
Of course, yes. Because the fair value of the car at that point of time is much larger than 1 lakh rupee. Right? आज भी अगर आप पुरानी कार लेने जाते हो, 7-year-old car of a 10 lakh rupees car, will you get it 1 lakh rupee? Answer is no. Let me tell you, I have sold my Maruti Swift car, which I have used for 10 years. And after expiry of 10 years, it was a diesel car. It was a single-handed maintained car. And after 10 years, I have sold, not in Delhi, but in Uttarakhand. It was sold for 1,20,000 rupees after 10 years. After 10 years. Even 10 years, 1 month. Okay? Yeah. So, of course, so second condition, the first condition is the ownership, the transfer of ownership option has to be there. Second, purchase option has to be there. Transfer of ownership means purchase option has to be there, and it has to be there at a nominal value. Okay. Third, the lease term is for the major part of the economic life of the asset. For example, the life of the diesel car is 10 years, and you got the asset also for 8 years. So tell me whether the lease term means 8 years is for the major part of the economic life of the car or not. Whether 8 years is the major part of 10 years or not.
Yes.
Major part. Sir, is there any threshold which is given for the major part of economic life? In the question, if it is given that the life of the asset is 15 years and we have taken it on a lease for 10 years, will we consider this as a major part of the economic life, my dear friends? The limit, the quantitative threshold is not given in the question, but in the US GAAP, the meaning of major part of the economic life is given, which is more than 75%, which is more than 75% of the life of the asset. So in this case, if the life of the car is 10 years, what is more than 75%?
More than 7.5 lakhs.
More than 7.5 years. If the life is 10 years, so what is more than 75%? More than 7.5 years.
More than 7 years, yes.
So in my example, I am taking a car on a lease basis for 8 years. The life of the car is 10 years. So will it be considered as a major part of the economic life? हाँ या ना तो बोलो. If the life of the car is 10 years and the lease term is 8 years,
Yes.
whether this car is on lease for major part of the economic life?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Right? It is more than 75%, which is given in US GAAP, not in Ind AS, not in accounting standard, not in IFRS. Okay. So generally, more than 75%, we consider this as a major part of the economic life. In that case, it will also be considered as a finance lease. मतलब जो उसकी लाइफ थी largely तो लेसी नहीं यूज किया उस एसेट को. Okay. Present value of minimum lease payment at the inception date. From the lessor perspective, you have to classify, is it a finance lease or is it an operating lease? So at the inception date, if your present value of the lease payment, substantially equal to the fair value of the lease asset. If your present value of the lease payment substantially equivalent to the fair value of the lease asset, means, for example, today, your fair value of the asset is 50 lakh rupees. Fair value of the asset is 50 lakh rupees. Okay. And so what is meant by fair value of the asset is 50 lakh rupees means I am the lessee. If I will go to buy the flat, if I will go to buy the flat, if I will go and I'll buy the flat, what will happen? I have to pay 50 lakh rupees. I have to pay 50 lakh rupees, right? So there is one option which is available. I don't have 50 lakh rupee. So how can I buy the flat? I can take a कैसे खरीदूं? I can take a loan.
Loan.
I can take a bank loan. So if I will take a bank loan, I will take 50 lakh rupees and I will buy the flat. What I'll pay to the bank?
Installments.
Installments. For example, 8% is the interest rate and it is for 10 years. So in the 50 lakh rupee, I will end up paying 50 lakh rupee or more than 50 lakh rupee?
More than 50 lakh, obviously.
More than 50 lakh rupee, technically speaking, in 10 years, most probably if 8% is the interest rate, I will end up paying 90 or 95 lakh rupees. Because of time value of money, right? So I have to pay for 10 years, I have to pay 50 lakh rupee plus interest. If I will discount all the EMI to the present value at 10%, what I'll get the present value?
50 lakhs.
50 lakh rupees. So 50 lakh rupees is the present value only. So instead of taking a loan, I went to the lessor. I took this house. I took this premises. And whatever a lease payments I am making to the lessor and whatever lessor is getting from me, right? If lessor will do the present value, it is substantially equal to the fair value. What does it mean? It means it is a finance lease. It means it is a finance lease. Whatever is the fair value of the asset, the lessor is recovering the entire fair value of the asset from the lessee over the lease term. Okay. It is also an indication of finance lease. Sir, what is meant by substantially? What is meant by substantial? Friends, the quantitative threshold is not given in Ind AS accounting standard or IFRS. In US GAAP, it is more than 90%. For example, the fair value, the market value of the asset is 50 lakh rupees. And the present value of the lease rental is coming out at 45 lakh rupees. Will you consider this as a finance lease? Answer is yes. It is equivalent to 90% or more. So 50 lakh multiplied by 90% is equal to 45 lakh. Right. Specialized nature. If the lessor is manufacturing the asset for the purpose of lessee only, it is a customized asset. It is a customized asset. Okay. In that case, it is a customized asset. In that case, it will also be considered as a finance lease. The asset is of such a specialized nature that only the lessee can use it without major modification. Only lessee can use it without major modifications. Okay. This will also be considered as a finance lease. So what are the examples or indicators of the finance lease? Number one, there should be an option of transferring the ownership at the end of the lease term, means purchase option has to be there. Number two, the purchase price, the exercise price has to be the nominal value in comparison to the market value. Number three, the lease term covers the major part of the economic life of the asset. Number four, the present value of the minimum lease payment. The present value of the lease payment is substantially equal to the fair value of the asset. And the asset is also of a specialized nature. Okay. So these are the 5 indicators of the finance lease. These are the 5 indicators of the finance lease. Okay. Is that right? Is that clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir, clear. And sir, one more thing. Practically,
Yeah.
whenever there is no, we can say quantitative limits are given in IFRS or Ind AS. So practically, the companies make policy based on the US GAAP.
Yeah.
So considering US GAAP that we have 75% or 90%.
Yes, you are right. So Ayush,
And
what happened? Even technically also, na. So your Ind AS 8, if you have covered Ind AS 8, your Ind AS 8 also talks about if a specific standard is not clear or silent on a particular concept. In that case, what you will do? as a first guidance, you have to see the similar standard. Okay. Let's say Ind AS 116 does not talk about the major part of the economic life, or Ind AS 116 does not talk about the substantial value of the lease payment. So if it not covers major part of life, what is meant by major part? What is meant by substantial? For example, if 116 is not covering, whether other standards are covering? If yes, you can do that. You can draft your accounting policy according to that. Let's say your similar accounting standard are also not talking about that. Then you have to see the conceptual framework of financial reporting. Let's say it provides. Then please do that. Please prepare your accounting policy accordingly. If not, then you can go to IFRS. Like I have shown you the ITC annual report. What they did, they took the inference from
Yes,
IFRS.
sir.
IFRS
Right.
talks about $5,000, which is equivalent to 4,40,000 rupees almost. So they have rounded off to 5 lakh rupees. Okay. Because it is not a material value. This company ITC balance sheet is in thousands of crores. So 5 lakh is not a material. So they have taken an inference. So then Ind AS it talks about if IFRS is also silent, then you can go to US GAAP also. So what we did, we went to US GAAP, and in US GAAP it talks about 75% or more. If your lease term is equivalent to 75% or more of the life of the asset, then you can consider it as a major part of the economic life. Or your lease payment, present value of lease payment is 90% or more of the fair value of the asset, you can consider it as a substantial value. Okay, so we can use that US GAAP and we can draft our accounting policy. Okay.
Yes, sir. And we can little bit deviate from that. Like if instead of 90%, we can take 80% as the case may be in our case.
Yes. You can do that. Right?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So basically it depends on the usage, it depends on the facts and circumstances, it depends on, how you are using that asset, what is your intention, you can do that. Okay.
Right, sir.
Yeah. So now let's discuss the lessor accounting. I hope my Excel file is visible to everyone. Is it
Yes,
visible?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Excel file is visible. Okay. Lessor accounting. Now I will do the revision of accounting standard 19, AS 19. So psychologically, if you relate some concept with the old concept, your learning and your level of understanding grow faster. This is a psychological thing, right? अगर आपको ये पता लग जाए कि what we are studying, what we are reading now, we are doing a revision of the old things, your learning and your level of understanding will grow faster. Believe me, right? Believe me. Second, if you will break a big problem, then your big problem will get broken and few of problem will automatically get solved. So what I'm trying to say, if any standard is a big standard or any question is a big question, break it into small parts. Then start learning, you will be able to understand it very easily, right? So break it. That is number 2. Number 3, to begin with, shorten your syllabus. When I did self-study in my CA final and CA inter examination, right? So what was my approach? My approach was, for example, there are 20 chapters in financial reporting. I'm taking an example. Or let's say there are 35 standard which we have to study in financial reporting. 35 standard. First of all, I have identified what are the standards which are A category, B category, and C category standard, right? Means what are the most important standard, first of all. So means if it is most important, I have to complete it in the first go, right? Then the B category and then the C category. Means C category means I will spend less time in the C category standard, but I'll spend most time in A category, comparatively lower in B, and the lowest in the C category. That is number one. So when I identified that out of 35 standard, I have to study in the first go only, let's say 28 standards. See, my syllabus has shortened. Okay. So my comfort level has grown up. Okay. And I'll start completing my syllabus. So when I'll approach in completion, of course, when I think about, oh, only 7 standards are left, only 10 standards are left, then my comfort level and confidence will always grow. That is one. Number two, always try to relate things. For example, I told you, when you complete Ind AS 16 and when you will read Ind AS 38, Ind AS 40, Ind AS 105, please try to relate Ind AS 16 with all these 3 standards. You will find a wonderful experience that your understanding of Ind AS 38, 105 and 40 is also faster, and your revision of Ind AS 16 is also getting done when you are reading these standards, right? So when you are learning these 4 standards, which will cover at least 10 to 15 marks, right, in your exam, you will find your revision, your learning, your understanding is very, 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 very faster. So try to relate things and concept. I used to relate my Companies Act and my auditing also, right? For example, there could be some provisions which are there in the Companies Act and there in the auditing also, right? So you can relate that. I always used to identify the syllabus which should cover my substantial syllabus, means 90%. 10% I have to left the 10%, and I used to cover the 10% later on. Okay, number one. Number two, I used to relate things. Number three, when I was learning concept, I was always trying to revising the old concept. Okay. So believe me, these all things have helped me in securing good marks, in passing the exam in first attempt, and in doing an efficient and effective self-study, right? So I thought I should share my experience with you. So likewise, my dear friends, lessor accounting. This lessor accounting is nothing. This lessor accounting is same accounting which you have covered in AS 19. If you have do it practically in your articleship period, if you remember AS 19, then your life is sorted. Your job is 70% done. Okay. So now I will cover lessor accounting. I will discuss what is the accounting treatment in case of operating lease and finance lease. So it's 8:34 now. Let's have a break, friends, and we will start at 8:45. Will that okay? Yeah, break start. And we will start and complete the lessor accounting today after the break. Okay. Yeah, break start, Ashokji. let's discuss the lessor accounting. As we have already discussed, this lessor accounting means accounting in the books of the lessor. And in the books of the lessor, the lease can be classified as an operating lease or the finance lease in the books of lessor, depending on the risk and rewards, whether transferred or not, right? Accounting in the books of lessor. Accounting in the books of the lessor. The lease can be, I hope my Excel is visible to everyone. Is it visible?
Sir, visible, sir.
Yes,
Visible.
sir.
The lease can be classified. The lease can be classified as operating lease or finance lease. Operating lease or finance lease. Lease, depending on whether the risk and reward are transferred or not. Right? Risk and rewards are transferred or not. Operating lease or finance lease. Okay. Risk or reward are transferred or not. There are 5 indicators of finance lease as well. What are the 5 indicators? Number one, just a minute. Number one, yes. Number one, lease contract allows transfer of ownership at the end of lease term. Means purchase option is there, right? Number 2, purchase option is available at the nominal value of exercise. At the nominal value of exercise, what? Exercise price. Okay, that is lower than the market value. Number three. What is number 3? Lease term. Lease term is equal to major part of economic life of asset. Okay. Then what next? Present value of lease payments should be equivalent to, present value of lease payment should be equivalent to what?
Fair value.
Equivalent होगा?
Substantially of fair value.
Substantially of fair value is equal to substantial value of fair value of 5. What is 5?
Specified nature. It's built for lessee purpose, exclusively for.
Yes. Exclusive for lease, exclusive for lessee usage. Means customized equipment, and means underlying asset is of customized. Okay. Yeah. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Yeah. So friends, now let's understand with the help of an example. Okay. So now I'll discuss the example of operating lease first. So let me take an example of operating lease. Number 1. operating lease. So what is meant by operating lease, which is not a finance lease? Okay.
Other than the
Yeah.
finance lease.
Where the risk and reward has not been transferred. So let's discuss an example. A Limited is a lessor who leases the building to B Limited for a period of 3 years. Okay. A Limited is a lessor who leases a building. A Limited is a lessor who leases the building to B Limited for 3 years. 3 years. Okay. The lease rental is 10,000 rupees per annum and to be increased by 10% every year. Right? The lease rental is how much? The lease rental is how much? The lease rental is
10,000.
10,000 per annum and to be increased by 10%, to be increased by 10% every year. Okay. To be increased by 10% every year. Assuming the life of the building is 20 years and the cost of the building is 25 lakhs. The life of the building is 20 years and the fair value is, let's say, 15 lakhs. The fair value is 15 lakhs. What is the classification and accounting in the case of lessor in this case? What is the classification and accounting in case of a lessor? According to you, what?
Sir, you are muted, sir.
Sorry. According to you, what is the classification?
Sir, it's an operating lease, sir.
So first of all, what is the life of this asset? 20 years. What is the lease term?
3 years.
Is it for major part of economic life?
No.
15% only, right? What is the rental per annum? 10,000. For how many years? 3 years. So what is the total payment which you have to make in 3 years? Let's say
It's
10%, or instead of 10,000, let me write 1 lakh. Okay, 1 lakh per annum. So what is the total payment you are going to make? Total 3 lakh.
3 lakh plus the 10% increase.
3 lakh plus escalation. So 1 lakh, then 1 lakh 10,000, then 1 lakh 21,000. So almost 3 lakh 31,000. So whether 3 lakh 31,000 is substantially equivalent to the 20 lakh, or what is that? 15 lakh.
No, sir, it's not 90% as per the US GAAP.
Yeah, no. So, and the question is also silent about the transfer of lease ownership, nominal value. This building is not a customized building for the purpose of lessee. So what is the classification? Classification is operating lease. So what is the classification in the books of the lessor? It is an operating lease. Solution. So classification, lease classification. Is operating lease, right? The classification in the books of lessor is a operating lease. Right. So first of all, tell me what accounting lessor will do. When lessor has acquired this asset, what accounting lessor will do? What is the nature of this asset in the books of lessor? This is the lessor is the owner of this asset.
Yes, sir. It's a PPE.
It's investment property. This is a building and lessor is earning for rental purposes. Lessor has kept for rental purposes. It is an investment property. Remember, I also talked about the exception in the case of definition of a PPE.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is an investment property. What is the accounting? What is the entry? Building. Investment property account debit property. While Ind AS 40 I have to cover. Ind AS 40 is not yet covered. Okay. Building investment property account debit. To what? To bank.
Bank account. Bank or loan.
To bank. Okay. So the life of the building is 20 years and the fair value is 15 lakhs. So instead of fair value, let me write it as a cost is 15 lakh, right? And cost. Just cost is 15 lakhs. तो वही फेयर वैल्यू होगी, अगर कॉस्ट 15 लाख है तो फेयर वैल्यू भी वही होगी, राइट? 15 lakhs.
Yes, sir. It has recognition.
What is the accounting entry? 15 lakhs. Friends, those who have joined late, so let me clarify and let me give you good news also. So we have got one more class on Ind AS 116. Okay. So Ind AS 116 will not be completed today. It will be completed in the next class, right? Because we have to complete sublease concept also, and we have to complete sale and leaseback transaction also. And we'll do some questions, some complex question in the next class. Okay. So that you will have a good understanding, good command over Ind AS 116. Okay. Yes. Then, so once you have recognized this, every year end, what you will do? What you will do at every year end?
Depreciate.
Depreciation and the receipt.
Depreciation to accumulated depreciation. To accumulated depreciation. Yes. What is the amount of depreciation?
It's 15 lakhs divided by 20 years.
Of course, 75,000. This is the depreciation charged. Now you have to do the rental income accounting. Being a lessor, what you get? If it is an operating lease, you will get a rental income. Yes?
Yes, sir.
You will get a rental income. So what is your rental income? And here, standard says that if it is an operating lease, the lessor will recognize the lease rental on a systematic basis. On a systematic basis. Ayush, what is meant by systematic basis here? Rental income. What rental income this lessor will get in year 1, 2, and 3 year? And this is your rental income, rent.
So he will also equalize.
1, 2, 3. Okay. So what is my, Ayush, what is my rent in the first year? What lessor will get as a rent in the first year? 1 lakh.
1
What is
lakh.
in the second year? Multiply by,
Plus 10%, sorry.
right?
Yeah. Same.
And the same way in the next year, 1 lakh 21.
Drag down.
Right?
That's it.
Okay. So Ayush, what is the total rent this lessor will get in 3 years?
There's some
3,31,000.
equal to
3,31,000.
right.
So what is the average lease payment? What is the average rent? Average rent
Divided by 3.
divided by 3. Simple. Sorry, divided by 3. Okay. So my average rent is 1,10,333, right? Divide by 3. Now Ayush, what is my accounting entry? So in the left side, what accounting entry I have made? I have made the entry for ownership because this is my asset, right? And I have given my asset on a lease basis. I am earning rental. So now I am doing the rental accounting. So what is the accounting entry in the year 1?
So bank account will be debited with 1 lakh.
Very good. Bank account debit. Bank account debit 1 lakh. Yes, 1 lakh. Okay. Then
Then
2 rental income.
2 rental income would be 110,333.
110,333. Where the difference will go? My debit is lower than my credit.
Lease equalization.
Lease
If another
equalization.
term is used. Okay.
Yeah, lease
Same term is
equalization.
used on. Okay.
Right. So don't get distressed about the nomenclature. Lease equalization, reserve, asset, lease equalization. Okay. So you will get a full mark. Not to worry. Yes. What is year 2?
Similar entries with the changing lease equalization.
Similar
in
entry.
bank. The rental
Bank
income would
account
be
debit
same,
is 1,10,000.
10,000,
To rent is 1,10,333. The lease equalization asset is this minus this balancing figure.
333.
This is your balancing figure. This is your balancing figure. What is the entry in the year 3? What is
Bank
the entry in
account
the year
would be
3?
120,
Sorry.
121. Bank account would be debited
Bank
by
account will be
121.
debited by 121. Okay. Credit what? To rental income तो credit करना ही है. To
Right, sir.
rental
10,
income.
10, 110,333.
Same 110,333. Where the difference will go? Here your debit is higher than credit.
Right, right. So lease equalization would be
Of course,
credited.
whatever lease equalization you have created, that has to be reversed now. Credit.
Right.
Right? And the difference is this minus this. And technically, it should be equivalent to the earlier number 333 plus 1033.
10333. Right.
You can found the same number, right? So this has
Right.
been neutralized. This has been neutralized. So if I talk about my 3-year cumulative balance, so my total balances. First, let me talk about my bank balance. Then let me talk about the lease equalization. And then let's talk about your what? Rental income. My bank is how much? 1 lakh I have received. 1,10,000. I have received 1,21,000. So what is the total amount I have received in the 3 years? 3,31,000. So
331.
technically this should be my rental income. Yes or no? Technically तो यही होना चाहिए ना?
Right.
Rental income. How much I have recognized? भाई जैसे मैंने आपको 115 में क्या पढ़ाया था, जितना आपने कस्टमर से कलेक्ट किया दैट हैज टू बी योर इनकम. चाहे जितना मर्जी एलोकेट करो बिटवीन द परफॉर्मेंस ऑब्लिगेशन. टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग वॉट एवर यू गॉट दैट शुड बी योर रेवेन्यू. राइट. बाकी तो सब एलोकेशन है आपस में. तो 3,31,000. नाउ व्हाट इज द लीज इक्वलाइजेशन बैलेंस? This is asset positive, and then there is a negative. Right. This is what the balances are there every year in the total balances. I hope each and every one of you have understood this operating lease accounting. Yes or no? Please tell me.
Yes, understood.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And are you able to remember Chitra, Mamta, Neha, AS19? कुछ याद आया? AS19, Mamta? AS19 याद आया? Lessor accounting, operating lease, bank
सर
to
उसमें
rental
लीज
income.
इक्वलाइजेशन तो नहीं था शायद, सिर्फ बैंक अकाउंट टू रेंटल.
लीज इक्वलाइजेशन तब भी था वो. उस टाइम पे यू वर स्मॉल किड्स एंड हेंस प्रोबेबली यू गाइस हैव नॉट read that concept. It was there in AS19 also. Okay, but might be the complexity level has not been discussed, right? Okay. It also talks about AS19 also talks about in case of operating lease from the lessor perspective as well as lessee perspective, because operating lease का concept AS19 में आज भी है, lessee में भी है. So it says that you have to recognize a rent income or rent expense on a systematic basis. Okay.
So it's more like both Ind AS 116 and AS19 provide us the option for lease equalization or the actual basis.
Yeah. So only Ind AS 116 only give this option in case of a lessor accounting and in case of lessee accounting when the lessee has availed the short-term lease exemption and low value lease exemption. Otherwise, for lessee, what is mandatory? Right of use and lease accounting is mandatory.
Right, right. Sir.
Okay. Yeah. So now let's discuss the second concept, which is more important and which is more elaborative: finance lease. The concept of finance lease. Okay. Concept of finance lease. Concept of finance lease. What is the concept of finance lease? So let's discuss with some scenarios. Okay. So we'll first discuss scenario number 1. Okay. Then I'll discuss scenario number 2. Scenario number 1. Scenario 1. What it says that, for example, A Limited has purchased a car for rupees 8 lakh on 1st April 2015. Question. A Limited has purchased a car for rupees 8 lakhs on 1st April 2015. Okay. On 1st April 2015. After 1 year, A leases out the car to B for rupees, let's say 1.25 lakh per annum for 4 years. After 1 year, A leases out his car to B. A leases out this car to B for rupees 1.25 lakhs per annum. For how many years? For 4 years. For 4 years. Okay. For 4 years. Interest rate implicit in the lease is 10%. IRR is given. IRR is equal to 10%. It's a lessor accounting. Lessor to apna IRR ही use करेगा ना. So calculate the necessary impact in the books of A Limited considering there are 4-5 things are also given. Life of the car. Life of car is 5 years. 5 years. Okay. Life of car is 5 years. Unguaranteed residual value. UGRV. What is UGRV? Unguaranteed residual value is 50,000. Unguaranteed residual value होती है जो आपका estimated scrap value होती है. Sorry, 50,000 rupees, not years. Unguaranteed residual value is 50,000 rupees. Rupees 50,000. Unguaranteed residual value, nobody has guaranteed. Lessee has guaranteed a residual value of 30,000 to the lessor. Lessee has guaranteed a residual value of rupees 30,000 to the lessor. Lessee has guaranteed a residual value of 30,000 to the lessor. Net unguaranteed residual value is equal to 20,000 rupees. Net unguaranteed residual value is 20,000 rupees. Okay. These are the facts which are given in the question. Now you have to calculate the necessary impact. Calculate the necessary impact in the books of A Limited. First of all, tell me whether question is clear to everyone. These are the facts given in the question. Whether the facts are clear to everyone. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Facts are clear? Okay. So A Limited has purchased the car. What is the cost of the car? 8 lakh rupee. Date of purchase is 1st April 15. After 1 year, so A used this car for 1 year for himself. Then he leases out the car to B for 1.25 lakh per annum for 4 years. And what is the life of the car?
5 years.
5 years.
What is the life of the car?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years is the life of the car. And what is the remaining life of the car when this A Limited has leased out this car to B? What is the life of the car? Remaining life?
4 year.
4 years. And what is the lease term?
4 years. So it is covering 100% of life.
100%
remaining
of the
life.
100% of the life. So is it an indicator of lease, finance lease or not? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
It is an indicator of finance lease, right?
Right.
Unguaranteed residual value means normal residual value is given 50,000. From the lessee perspective, he has guaranteed only 30,000 rupees. Net unguaranteed residual value
What
is
is
given
that?
20,000.
Why lessee generally guarantee the residual value? I can't
So
got the
let's see,
concept.
generally what happens in case of, kind of a aviation industry, shipping industry. So let's say Ayush, I have given my mobile for you. I have given my mobile, I have leased out my mobile or given my mobile for the purpose of using it to you. And now every asset has a life, okay? And you must have heard that at times now people are taking the houses, the flats on a lease basis, which is a furnished flat, जो कि furnished होते हैं, right? So these office equipment like air condition, refrigerator, geyser, these are the limited life. ये limited life होती है ना, 10 year, 15 year. So
Right, sir.
I am the lessee, I'm using the house, I'm using the equipments. What happens if I'll not do the timely service? What happen if I'll not able to maintain it properly? What will happen? Of course, the residual value will go down. मतलब
Okay,
जो
okay,
इतने में
sir.
बिकना
Got
होता,
it.
अगर आप कार यूज कर रहे हो और कार आप अच्छे से नहीं चलाते, आप कार में स्क्रैच लगा देते हो, कभी कुछ करते हो, राइट? तो उस केस में क्या होगा, आपकी वैल्यू डाउन होती जाएगी ना. सो as a lessor, I am telling you that you have to guarantee me this also. So he's guaranteeing you, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
that he will
Right.
maintain the car in a good condition. So in this case, lessor is expecting 50,000 rupees. So lessee has guaranteed 30,000 rupees. So unguaranteed value is 20,000 rupees. Okay. So this is what it is
Okay,
given.
sir. Got it.
Now, first of all, let me do the accounting in the books of the lessor. Okay. Solution. Accounting in the books of lessor. What accounting I'll do? What accounting I'll do on 1st April 2015? What accounting I'll do? 1st
The
April
purchase.
2015. Purchase of car.
Yes, sir.
What is the accounting?
Car account to bank account.
Car PP. Car is PP, not an investment property. Car is PP. Car PP account debit to bank. Car PP to bank. What is the amount? 8 lakh.
8 lakhs.
8 lakh.
8 lakh rupees. Car PP to bank 8 lakh rupees, right? Then what is the next entry? This guy, this lessor has used the asset. So what is the next entry on 31st March 16?
Depreciation. Depreciation to accumulated depreciation.
Debt to accumulated debt. Depreciation account debit to accumulated depreciation. What is the depreciation? 8 lakh divided by
5.
5.
No, sir. 8 lakh minus 50,000 divided by 5 years. 1,50,000.
Depreciation is equal to cost minus residual value divided by useful life. Yes. I was just checking whether you guys will do that or not. Yes. So what is my depreciation? My depreciation is 8 lakh minus 50,000 residual value divided by 5, right? This is my accumulated depreciation. Now, what is my carrying value at the end of the first year? Carrying value
6,50,000.
end of first year. कितनी होगी carrying value? 8 minus 1.5. 6,50,000 is the carrying value at the end of the first year. Okay, now this lessor has to lease the car. Lessor has to lease the car. So what is the classification in the books of the lessor? What is the lease classification? Tell me. क्या होगी lease classification?
It's a finance lease.
Finance lease.
It is a finance lease. It is for the full life of the asset. Lease classification is equal to finance lease. Lease classification is equal to finance lease. Okay. Sir, if it is a finance lease, then what to do? If it is a finance lease, then what is the accounting? In case of finance lease, the accounting is just like a lessee accounting. क्या हम lessee accounting में क्या करते थे? What we used to do in the lessee accounting, guys?
We will find that the present value of the future payment, lease payment.
So we were computing lease liability, means we were discounting the lease payment. We were computing the present value of the lease payment, and we were recognizing right of use asset. This is what we were doing.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Yes.
So if it is a finance lease, means the other party has the full enjoyment. The risk and reward has been transferred. The life is 4 year. The asset value is 4 year. It is all for lessee. If lessee will maintain the car, he will enjoy the car. If lessee will not maintain the car, it is for the full life. Right. So just tell me one thing. If it is a finance lease, what you will do? Don't you think you have to de-recognize the PPE?
Yes, sir. We need to de-recognize.
Yes, you need to de-recognize. So step number 1. So accounting. So what is the accounting concept? Accounting concept. Accounting concept. Step number 1. Step number 1. Step 1. Lessor will de-recognize the asset. Which asset? Which asset? Like PP. Lessor will de-recognize the asset. Okay. So let me cover it in the box. कर दें इसको box में cover. Yeah. Lessor will de-recognize the asset. आपके notes बढ़िया तैयार हो गए. Step number 2. What is step number 2? What is step number 2? उसने asset तो de-recognize कर दिया, but the lessor will receive the rental income in the next 4 years. So what lessor will recognize now?
Compute that present value of the future lease.
Value. Lessor will compute the present value of the lease payments. Which lease payment? Fixed payment plus in substance fixed payment minus lease incentive plus variable payment depending on the index or a rate plus exercise price plus
Guaranteed value given by the third party.
Guaranteed residual value
termination
and
penalty plus residual value guarantee given by the lessee plus residual value
Unguaranteed.
guarantee given by any party. Right? Right? So lessor has to recognize finance lease receivable. Lessor has to de-recognize the asset and lessor has to recognize the receivable. Recognize the finance lease receivable. Lessor has to recognize the finance lease receivable. Okay. Lessor has to recognize finance lease receivable, which is what? Which is my net investment in the lease. Which is my net investment in the lease. Which is my, and what is my finance lease receivable? FLR. FLR. And what is FLR? What is FLR? FLR means net investment in the lease. FLR means FLR is equal to net investment in the lease. So you will heard about the concept gross investment in the lease, net investment in the lease. What is a gross investment in the lease? Gross investment in the lease means total lease payment. Gross value of lease payment. What is net investment in the lease? What is net investment in the lease? Present value. Present value of what? Present value of what? Present value of future lease payment plus unguaranteed residual value. Present value of future lease payment plus unguaranteed residual value means whatever lessor will receive, whatever, all the present value of all the element is considered as a net investment in the lease, and all the component which the lessor will receive, all the payment which the lessor will receive, it is known as a gross investment in the lease. Can you tell me why I have not added the guaranteed residual value? Why I have added the unguaranteed residual value? Can you tell me, please?
It is already included in FLP.
Absolutely right, Sanjay. I'm really impressed. So it is already included in the future lease payments. It is already included in the lease payments. So let me write here. Lease payments plus unguaranteed residual value. It is already included. वो definition हमने कितनी बार पढ़ ली, कितनी बार revise कर ली, right? So now I need to compute the present value. Okay, I need to compute the present value. Present value of future lease payment. So friends, calculation of present value of future lease payments. Future lease payment, FLP. It is FLP, that is lease payments. Anyone who has any doubt up to this part? Anyone who has any doubt? Ayush, Mamta, Chitra, Leela, Neha. Anyone who has any doubt up to this part? No doubt? Very good.
No, sir.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay. Yes. So now let me solve this. So there are 4 years when I got the lease payment year. After year, what? Amount? Same. After amount, present value factor, then present value. ये तो हमने पता नहीं अभी तक कम से कम we have done it for 25 times, yes or no?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4. These are the lease payment. So what is my fixed lease payment? What is my fixed lease payment? Per annum, what is my lease payment?
1,25,000.
1,25,000 is my fixed lease payment. 1,25,000. This is my fixed lease payment. And what is my interest rate implicit in the lease?
It's a 10%.
We have taken it at 10%. We have taken it at 10%. IRR is equal to 10%. Okay.
Sir,
So
on the fourth year, we need to put the unguaranteed residual value as well, right?
So I'm doing that, Saminathan. I'm doing that. Fixed lease payment. Then what we will get after fixed lease payment? What we will get? We will get the
Guaranteed residual value.
residual value.
Residual
also.
value.
Guaranteed residual value and unguaranteed residual value, right? At the end of the 4th year. At the end of the 4th year. What is my guaranteed residual value? 30,000. What is my unguaranteed residual value? 20,000. What is my total residual value? 50,000. Any doubt? Any challenge up to this part? Yeah. So what is the total payment I'm going to receive? The total payment I'm going to receive from this asset is 5,50,000. What is the present value factor? What is the present value factor? The present value factor is equal to what?
1 divided by 1.1.
1 divided by 1.1. This divided by 1.1. Right? So on and so forth. Just a minute. Yes. Then same. At the end of the 4th year, same आएगा ना? ये सब at the end of the 4th year होगा.
Yes.
Yes, sir, same.
Okay. So what is my gross investment in the lease in this case? What is my gross investment in the lease? Can you tell me?
It's a 5,50,000 is a gross investment in the lease.
Yes. So, and what is my net investment in the lease?
It's a 4,30,384.
It's a present value of gross investment. So why I'm telling you these terminology you may be found in the examination. Okay. So this is my present value of gross investment in the lease, which is known as a net investment in the lease, which is now known as a finance lease receivable also. Okay. So net investment in the lease is equal to present value of gross investment in the lease. Net investment in the lease is equal to present value of gross investment in the lease. Is equal to gross investment in the lease. Right. Now, what is my accounting entry? On 1st April 16, what accounting entry I need to pass when I classify this asset as a finance lease? क्या accounting entry pass करूंगा मैं? I have to de-recognize the asset. I have to, step number 1, lessor will de-recognize the asset to car account. तो कार पीपी अकाउंट कितने पे करूंगा? कार पीपी अकाउंट को क्रेडिट किस वैल्यू पे करूंगा? क्रेडिट एट व्हाट वैल्यू बता दो कितनी वैल्यू आई थी एट द एंड ऑफ द फर्स्ट ईयर?
6,50,000.
डेबिट क्या करूंगा? व्हाट आई डेबिट?
Debit to net investment in the
Finance lease receivable or net investment in the lease? Finance lease receivable. Okay. Or net investment in the lease. Same thing. Debit. And what is the value of the net investment in the lease?
4,30,384.
430,384. Where the difference will go? So you have de-recognized the value of an asset which is 6.5 lakh. You have recognized a finance lease receivable of 438,384. Where the difference will go? The difference will go on the loss on de-recognition in the P&L. Loss on de-recognition. P&L. Debit. Right? Whether this is clear to all of you, whether this accounting is clear to all of you. Now,
Yes,
can I
clear.
show you the subsequent recognition and measurement?
Yes.
Can I show you the subsequent? This is the initial recognition and measurement. Now, subsequent recognition and measurement. What is my subsequent recognition and measurement like? Initially, I have created a lease liability schedule in case of lessee. But now in case of a lessor, I have to create lease. I have to create lease receivable schedule. Finance lease receivable schedule. And what is this? Year opening balance. You remember this? Interest, cost nahi, interest income, then lease payment, then closing balance. आपको याद है नहीं है ये वाला?
Yes, remember.
What is my year? How many year? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 years? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. What is the opening balance? What is the opening balance of the finance lease receivable? क्या है opening balance?
433.84.
What is the interest income at the rate of 10%? What is my lease payment? What is my lease payment? My lease payment is 1.25 lakh. What is my closing balance?
It's a receipt of 125.
This will become my opening balance in the second year. This will be my lease interest income, lease payment, closing balance. Now, same. Okay. So, at the end of the fourth year, again, I am typing here. So, my balance is 50,000 and at the end of fourth year only, I will make a lease payment of what? I will make a lease payment of this residual value, 50,000. So, this has become 0. Correct? This has become 0. Is that clear?
Clear.
So now let's also discuss the accounting entries. Accounting entries along with impact. So friends, what we did initially, we did PP accounting. Then we computed the carrying value. Then what we did, we de-recognized the PP, we recognized the finance lease receivable. Whatever was the difference, it has gone to P&L. Now we have the finance lease receivable only. So now what we are doing, we are adding interest income on the finance lease receivable and we are reducing finance lease receivable by receiving the lease payment. The same replica accounting of, you remember ROU lease liability accounting. Right? So particulars, then your year 1, 2, 3, 4. Year 1, year 2, year 3, Year 4. Right. Year 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Finance lease receivable. Finance lease receivable account debit. Debit to what? To interest income. Your finance lease receivable balance will increase with the interest income. Yes or no? ये एंट्री क्लियर है ना सबको या नहीं क्लियर?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
जैसे इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट में क्या करते थे? इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट डेबिट टू लीज लायबिलिटी इंक्रीज होती थी, यहाँ फाइनेंस लीज रिसीवेबल इंक्रीज होगा. What is my finance lease? What is my interest income? My interest income in the first year is this, right? So with this amount your finance lease receivable will be debited. Second year this much, same. Third year 25,826, same. Fourth year is 15,000, same. Right? Yeah. So this is your interest income. Then what is the next entry? What is the next entry?
Next is the receipt of the payment from
Receipt of the payment. Bank account debit to what? To finance lease receivable account. And what is the amount? What is the amount every year? 1.25, 1.25, 1.25. Simple यही है ना? So 1.25, right? Again same 1.25. Okay. So, sorry. Same 1.25. And here 1.25 and
plus 50,000.
Plus 50,000. 175,000. So what is my total impact in the P&L is how much? 119,616. 119,616. Okay. Yeah, to interest income. This is what the accounting of finance lease receivable is there. Okay, this is the accounting of finance lease receivable. Is that clear to everyone or not clear? Please tell me whether this accounting is clear. Finance lease accounting is clear.
Clear.
In the books of the lessor. Yeah.
Clear, sir. Just
Now,
one
let
thing,
me-
sir. We have
let me-
assumed. Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, please continue, sir.
Yeah. So nothing. I was talking about scenario number 2. Yes. Yeah. You have some question, Ayush? Please ask.
No. I was just asking that we have assumed that the unguaranteed residual value will also be received.
Yeah.
That remaining 20,000.
Yeah. This is what you are always expecting, ना? तभी तो आप पीपी में भी तो यही करते हो.
Right, sir.
No. Scenario number 2. What is my scenario number 2? What is my scenario number 2? So what I have done here in my scenario number 2, A Limited has purchased a car for rupees 8 lakh on 1st April 15. Same. After 1 year, A leases out the car to B for rupees 2 lakh per annum for 4 years. So what I have changed here? What I have changed? I have changed the consideration, the lease payment from 1.25 lakh to 2 lakh per annum. यही चेंज किया है ना?
Yes.
IRR is 10%, life is 5 year, UGRV 50,000, lessee guaranteed 30,000, net UGRV 20,000. This question is cut, copy, paste. I have only changed the lease payment. मैंने सिर्फ लीज पेमेंट चेंज किया. क्या होगा अब लीज पेमेंट चेंज किया तो मैंने? What will happen? What is the accounting in the books of the lessor? Same. So let me copy here. Let me copy the first part solution. This is exactly same. Car PP 8 lakh to bank, depreciation this, carrying value at the end of the first year 650, lease classification is equal to finance lease. Are you all agree with me? The same scenario. Yes. I have only changed the lease payment. Now what I'll do? What is my 2 steps? What is my 2 steps which we have discussed? Now I have to do the lease accounting. Now I have to do the lease accounting. Now I have given the asset to the lessee. What are the 2 steps which I have to do? Lessor will de-recognize the asset and recognize the finance lease receivable. यही करना पड़ेगा.
Yes.
कैसे करूंगा मैं प्रेजेंट वैल्यू फैक्टर कैलकुलेट करूंगा, राइट? अकाउंटिंग एंट्री पास करूंगा. So let me copy this. Calculation of present value of future lease payments. Okay. Instead of 1,25,000, I am making this 2 lakh rupees. Okay. I am making this 2 lakh rupees. So what is my present value of gross investment in lease? What is my present value of future lease payments? 668,124. 668,124. Right. So tell me, at what value I'll de-recognize my car? At what value I will de-recognize my car? What was the carrying value of the car at the end of the first year?
6,50,000.
And what is my finance lease receivable debit? 668,124. So where the difference will go?
Yes. It is a gain on derecognition.
To profit on derecognition. Earlier in the first scenario, what has come? Loss on derecognition. Here, there is a profit on derecognition.
Profit. Yes.
Yes. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. Credit. This minus this. 18,124. Right? This is profit on derecognition. Profit on derecognition. And what is my subsequent recognition in measurement? Same. What is my entry? Same. So let me copy my subsequent derecognition in measurement also. Should I do that? Subsequent recognition in measurement करूं या छोड़ दूं? चलो कर देता हूं. What is my opening balance? What is my opening balance? 668,124. What is my lease payment? अपने आप ही set हो गया. It has become 0. Right? This is my accounting entries. Any question, any doubt, my dear friends? Tell me if you have any question, any doubt on this. Please tell me. कोई doubt है या नहीं है?
No, sir, it's clear, sir.
It's completely clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
clear.
it's clear.
It's clear.
Okay, so my dear friends, today, what we have covered today, so 2 concepts are remaining now. So one is sublease concept, which I'll cover in the next class, in the last class, and the sale and lease back. These are the 2 concepts I'm going to cover in the next class with 2-3 critical questions. Okay. So friends, what we have covered today, हमने आज क्या cover किया? We have covered lessor accounting today, right? So Ayush is asking, sir, IRR would always be readily available as lessor must know his IRR, right, sir? Yes, Ayush, absolutely right. Absolutely
And
right.
one more thing, sir, it would be highly probable that the ROU which Lease is recognizing in his books would be different from the lease, I would say the present value of lease receivables which the lessor is recognizing, right? So both will recognize different amounts based on the discounting factor.
You are absolutely right, because lessor will always know his IRR. वो lessor का खुद का IBR है. Okay. So lessor
Right.
IRR is equal to lessor का खुद का IBR. Lessor owns IBR. So lessor will know his IRR and lessor will do the discounting as per his IRR. But let's say if the lessee is not able to know the lessor IRR, then lessee will use his IBR. Okay.
Right.
So lessee is discounting at a different discount rate due to the different risk profile, different standing, right? And lessor is doing a discounting at a different this thing. So you are absolutely right. Both have a different amount. And
So
the
in
second and the second change is also there. When lessee will do the right of use asset accounting and lease liability accounting, lessee will only consider the guaranteed residual value which lessee has given to the lessor. But while computing the finance lease receivable, which is present value of the future lease payments, which is a present value of gross investment in the lease, lessor will also consider unguaranteed residual value and those guaranteed residual value also which lessee has not given. Are you getting me? So there is a difference in
Yes,
the
yes,
base
sir.
also.
Yes, sir. Got it completely.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Amina.
Sir, and also the direct cost.
Also the
Sir,
yes.
what about
Also the direct cost. Yes, if the lessee is incurring some direct cost, of course that is also required to be added to the ROU. So there are differences in some base also. Yes. So friends, today we discussed lessor accounting, and what we discussed in the lessor accounting, what we understood in the lessor accounting, we understood and discussed that the lessor will have an operating lease and finance lease, depending on the risk and reward, whether it is transferred or not transferred. There are some indicator of the finance lease as well. And what are the indicator? If the lease contract allows a transfer of ownership at the end of lease term, it is one of the indicator. If the purchase option is available at nominal value of exercise price, that is also an indicator. If lease term is equal to major part of the economic life, it is again an indication. The present value of lease payment is equal to substantial value of the lease asset. Again, it's an indicator. And if it is a customized equipment for the purpose of lessee, then again it's an indicator of finance lease. Okay. We discussed that in case of operating lease rental, lessor will continue to recognize the asset, be it PP or investment property, and lessor will recognize the rental over a lease period on a systematic basis, which is largely straight line method. In case of a finance lease, the lessor will de-recognize the PP or investment property. Lessor will recognize the finance lease receivable, and lessor will recognize the finance lease receivable and de-recognize the asset. Whatever difference is there, it will go to P&L. Okay. Then subsequently, lessor will recognize the interest income on the finance lease receivable, and the finance lease receivable will be reduced by the lease payments. Okay. This is the accounting in case of the lessor. Okay. This is what we discussed today. Okay. So friends, if you have any question, please ask. Otherwise, I will not start sublease accounting today because it will take around half an hour and 40-45 minutes for the sublease accounting. Okay. So tell me, if you have any doubt on the today's topic, please ask. Otherwise, we'll be happy to conclude the session in the next 4-5 minutes. Do you have any doubt up to this level?
सर अगर लीज इंसेंटिव होगा तो लेसर की उसमें भी माइनस करके करेंगे ना?
अगर लीज का
लीज इंसेंटिव, लेसर इज गिविंग द लीज इंसेंटिव टू लीजी.
If the lessor is giving, yes. So basically what lessor will do, you are absolutely right. What
Yes.
we have seen in case of a lease payment calculation. So let me show you that. Calculation of lease payment. Yeah. I hope this Excel file is visible to all of you.
Visible.
Mamta, Excel file is visible, na? Can you see this lease incentive,
Yes sir,
Mamta?
yes sir, yes sir.
Yeah, for lessee and lessor both, what we have done, we have reduced the lease incentive, right, from the lease payments. Okay. Yes. Any other question? Okay, so tell me one thing. There is a lease of, let's say, photocopy machine or a printer, but the lease contract is for 5 years and the lease rental payment is 50,000 per annum. Can you avail the lease? Can you avail the lease exemption?
Yes, sir. It is a low value exemption we can claim, sir.
Yes. So it is not a short-term lease exemption. It is a low-value lease exemption. It is a low-value lease exemption. Okay. So looking at the period of 5 years, so generally the first impression which came in mind is short-term lease or long-term lease, because we are kind of habituated that if it is a long-term lease, we have to create lease liability and ROE. Not like that. Not like that. Okay. Yeah. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So perfect, friends. If you don't have any doubt, so we have also done the revision. We have also completed it. If you don't have any doubt, we are okay to conclude the session. Can we conclude the session today?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Or any
Yes, sir.
clarification
Thank
which
you,
you
sir.
want from my side? Any clarification which you want?
No, sir.
So friends, one thing I want to tell you, that in this Excel file, day wise and the concept wise, things are given, things are captured along with example, along with calculation, along with accounting entries, right? You can see that along with everything. If you will just spend 1 hour in reading this Excel file, of course, this file will be uploaded in the next day. So if you just go through with these examples, concepts, believe me, your Ind AS 116, full Ind AS 116 will get revised in the 1 or 2 hours, maximum 1 or 2 hours, right? And you can see it is structured. It is structured in a systematic manner. It is structured in a systematic manner, right? You can see here.
Yes, sir. It's very useful, sir. Thank you so much.
So I'm just scrolling it down for everyone, right? So like exemption, all the small parts, even which is not there in study material, which is not there in standard. So even those concepts are captured here for the purpose of clarification. Okay. Yes. All these things are there. So you can just refer these things and you will be able to understand it very easily, like lease modification. Okay. And what is meant by lease modification? What will be the accounting? Then the questions, then the illustrations. Okay. So this is how it has been captured. So thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much. And in the next class, we will complete this Ind AS 116. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.